anybody tell me what season of the church year we are in? That's right, we are in Lent, aren't we? Does anybody know what color is the color of Lent? Yeah, right? Purple, right? Not just any purple, it's a dark purple, like a blue-violet maybe. Right? And that's the color we use to symbolize waiting, right? Now, I want you to think back and try to remember. Do you remember when we did a puzzle together? A puzzle on the floor in the shape of a cross? Who remembers how many weeks there were? How many pieces there were in that puzzle? 6, that's right. There were 6 pieces for 6 weeks. And this week, does anybody know? Could anyone tell me how many weeks? 1, 2, 3. We are on week number 3. This is Sunday, is the 3rd Sunday of Lent. So how many more do we have? If there's 6 and we're on 3. Yeah, we have 3 more, okay? So, can I tell you a story? This is the season of Lent. And during Lent, we are preparing, getting ready for the mystery of Easter. We are on the road to Jerusalem. Now, during Advent, we are on the road the whole time to Bethlehem. During Lent, we are on the road to Jerusalem. Who do you think could lead us there? Who do you think would be a good guide on the way to Jerusalem? Yes, Jesus, right? See, every year, the people of God, they would go travel from the places where they lived. And they would take the long, long road to Jerusalem. They would go all the way to Jerusalem where the temple was to celebrate the Feast of the Passover. They would remember how God led them through the waters into freedom. And this year, Jesus traveled to Jerusalem too. And Jesus was followed by a lot of people. A lot of people would come with him. The same people that were asking him, what is it about the kingdom of God? How can we be a part of the kingdom of God? Could you tell us about the kingdom of God? The same people that were asking, who is my neighbor? They were following Jesus. And in each town that Jesus would pass by on his way to Jerusalem, people would come out of the town and they would come to see him because people knew at this point that Jesus would see them. They knew that he would stop for them, that he wanted to know them and he wanted to see them and he wanted to be with them. He wanted to see the little children. Yeah, remember that story? He wanted to see little children and he listened to them and he valued them. He wanted to see people who were crippled, they couldn't walk. He would stop and talk to them. He would stop and talk to people if they were poor. They didn't have much money. That did not matter to Jesus. He would stop and talk to them. It didn't matter if they couldn't walk or if they didn't have money. In fact, it didn't matter to Jesus if they were sick. Jesus would stop and see people if they were sick. He would stop and see them if they were scared. Even if other people did not want anything to do with them, Jesus would stop and he would talk to them. This is Bartimaeus. See, Bartimaeus was begging outside of the city of Jericho. He was begging because he could not have a job. He couldn't have a job and he couldn't go anywhere because he was blind. It meant he couldn't see anything. Couldn't see it all. He couldn't see the trees, and he couldn't see the ground, and he couldn't see people. In fact, he couldn't even see Jesus coming that day, but he heard. He heard people talking about it. And he heard the group coming, and he heard that Jesus was there. And so as he heard the crowds calling out, and he heard the noise getting louder and louder, he called out to Jesus. Jesus, Jesus, help me, help me. And the people around him started saying, Bartimaeus, be quiet, be quiet, be quiet. You're being too loud. Jesus doesn't want to talk to you. He's an important rabbi. He doesn't need you. He doesn't want to talk to you. Stop. But Bartimaeus only shouted louder, Jesus, help me, help me, help me. You know what? Jesus heard him. He heard him. And not only that, but he said, bring him to me. So some people brought Bartimaeus to him. And Jesus asked him, he said, what do you want? And Bartimaeus said to him, I want to see. And Jesus touched his eyes, and he said, then receive your sight. And guess what? Immediately, Bartimaeus could see. He could see the people, and he could see trees and the street and everything he couldn't see before, and he also could see Jesus. Immediately, he could see. Bartimaeus and all of the people around him were so excited and so happy that they just started spontaneously praising God because they knew that was a miracle. And Bartimaeus started to follow Jesus. He started to follow him all the way to Jerusalem. I wonder what it would feel like to be blind, to not be able to see. I wonder what it would feel like to see for the very first time. What do you think that would feel like? If all of a sudden you could see. I wonder why Jesus stopped. Why would Jesus stop to talk to Bartimaeus when nobody else would? I wonder why. I don't know. What do you think? Why would he immediately, the first thing he would do after gaining his sight back, why would it be to follow Jesus all the way to Jerusalem? I wonder how he felt. You know what? I would love to hear your thoughts about this. Or, I bet maybe your parents or your grandparents or your sisters or brothers, they might like to hear your thoughts too. So, whoever you're watching this with, or if you want to send me your thoughts, feel free to do so, okay? Interesting, isn't it? Okay, so if you have any questions, tell your mom or dad. You can send them to me. Or you could ask your mom or dad, or your grandpa, or your grandma, your aunt, or your uncle, whoever's with you, you'd ask them about it. And you could make the story yourself at home. I bet you have some of these things. Do you think you have some of these things? You could act the story out this week if you want to. I bet you have some blocks, maybe some people, maybe some different types of people. You could even use something like little bobbin, or basket for building. I bet you could tell it to somebody at home this week if you wanted to. So you keep this story in your head, and I will see you next time, okay?